All right, let's take a look at this together. All right? I'll be reading from the ESV. God said to Jacob, "Rise and go to Bethel and dwell there." He's telling him, listen, buddy, you go there and you just stay there, right? I mean, he's been gone from the promised land for 20 years and he's being told to go to Bethel and dwell there. This will be the first time in the Bible that someone's told to build an altar. Abraham was told to offer a sacrifice, but Jacob was told to build an altar. So God said to Jacob, "Go to Bethel, make an altar there to the God who appeared to you when you fled from your brother Esau." So Jacob said to his household and all who were with him, "Put away the foreign gods that are among you, and purify yourselves, and change your garments." It's like, whoa, where's this coming from? This doesn't sound like Jacob. We haven't been going like this too well. I mean, Rachel stole the family deities from Laban way back there, and now we've got this going on. So it's kind of startling to us to see that, hey, he's taking this one a little bit more seriously than he's ever taken it before. It's a nice, refreshing change to see that Jacob is actually taking on some seriousness of, wash, change your clothes, get ready. We're going to meet God. But it's to put away the foreign gods that are among you. And it's very likely that when they sacked the city of Shechem, they got a lot of pieces that were ornaments of idolatrous significance. And so all of that stuff had to be done away with. Then he says in verse 3, "Then arise and let us go up to Bethel, so that I may make there an altar to the God who answers me." Oh, man. By application, do you have a God who answers you? I need to make an altar to the God who answers me in the day of my distress and has been with me wherever I have gone. It's kind of cool that we have this promise over there in Matthew 28, "Lo, I am with you always, even to the end of the age." And it's a neat promise that God is with us. So Jacob has a God who's been with him, and he recognizes this now. So he's taking this with a lot more seriousness than what he's done before. And so they gave to Jacob. And you also see the immediacy of what he's doing in the preparation, almost like Abraham when he's going to offer Isaac on Mount Moriah. He gets up early in the morning and goes and does this. Well, God tells Jacob, "You've got to go." And the way the narrator is writing is like he immediately has his family prepare for this. And they give him the gods, as it says right here. So they gave to Jacob all the foreign gods that they had, and the rings that were in their ears. And Jacob hid them under the terebinth tree that was near Shechem. And as they journeyed, a terror from God fell upon the cities that were around them, so that they did not pursue the sons of Jacob. Like, wow, that's fascinating. This happened during Joshua's time. It happens during Jacob's time. The fear of God falls on the enemies, so they don't pursue. Jacob came to Luz, that is Bethel, which is in the land of Canaan, and he and all the people who were with him. And there he built an altar and called the place Bethel, God, house of God, or God, we'll just leave it like that, God, house of God. Because there God revealed himself to him when he fled from his brother. Okay? And that's the first part. And then we have a series of deaths. All right? Deborah, we don't have any mention of Jacob's mother dying. She probably passed when he was gone and up there with Laban. But here, the nurse that went back with Rebecca is the one who passes. So Rebecca's nurse died, and she was buried under an oak below Bethel. So they called its name Elanon Bakuth. And God appeared to Jacob again, and when he came from Padan Aram, and blessed him. And you see this, it's kind of interesting. It's not dependent upon who Jacob is, but it's dependent upon the worthiness of this God, and the generosity of this God, and the kindness, the loving kindness of this God, who's taking an individual who really doesn't deserve it, and is giving him blessing, and has blessed him over and over and over again. And it's not something that he earned by just being good. I think for us, that's an important thing, is we don't get blessed by God because of being good. get blessed by God because Jesus Christ is good. We've placed our faith in him. And so we're actually hiding behind Christ. And God is seeing Christ in us. And that gives us God's blessing. But in verse 10, and God said to him, your name is Jacob. No longer shall your name be called Jacob, but Israel shall be your name. So he called his name Israel. And we've already mentioned this, and we'll mention it again, that as Jacob does well, he goes by the name Israel, and when Jacob doesn't do well, he goes by the name Jacob. And it's a phenomenon that the narrator will use to tip us off as to how well he's doing in his progress spiritually. And so God is changing his name for the second time. This is the only individual, I believe, that God changes his name twice because Jacob struggles to live up to the good of his new name. So he called his name Israel. And God said to him, I am God Almighty. I'm God Almighty. Same God that Abraham had. Be fruitful and multiply. A nation and a company of nations shall come from you, and kings shall come from your own body. This is the first time Jacob is hearing about this. Of course, Abraham received the promise from God, and it does mention kings back there, but this is the first time that Jacob is hearing about these things. The land that I gave to Abraham and to Isaac I will give to you, and I will give the land to your offspring after you. Then God went up from him in the place where he had spoken with him. And Jacob set up a pillar in the place where he spoke. And Jacob set up a pillar in the place where he had spoken with him, a pillar of stone, and he poured out a drink offering on it and poured oil on it. So Jacob then called the name of the place where God had spoken with him Bethel. Then they journeyed from Bethel. When they were some distance from Ephrath, Rachel went into labor, and she had hard labor. When her labor was at its hardest, the midwife said to her, do not fear, for you have another son. And as her soul was departing, for she was dying, she called his name Son of My Sorrows. But his father called him Son of My Right Hand. So Rachel died and was buried on the way to Ephrath, that is Bethlehem, about 7 miles north. Now, the tomb that they're going to indicate to folks is about a mile away, but if it's a 2-hour distance, it's 7 miles. So Jacob set up a pillar over her tomb. Jeremiah knows where the tomb is located, but then after the captivity, we kind of lose track of it. It is the pillar of Rachel's tomb, which is there to this day. Israel journeyed on and pitched his tent over beyond the Tower of Eder. And it's like, wait a second now. Rachel's gone, and all of a sudden this guy is doing a little bit better spiritually. I'm not going to say anything. But, maybe all of this time, Leah was the better companion. And he just missed it. He thought he would be happy with Rachel because she has bright eyes and the other one has sorrowful eyes, or whatever it was that he saw in her eyes. I thought it was something about her eyes. And so, it's just something like that. And so now she's passed, and all of a sudden Israel is acting like he's supposed to act. Israel journeyed on and pitched his tent beyond the Tower of Eder. And I guess maybe another thing is not having two women fighting all the time might settle things down so we can actually concentrate on the things that are more important. And so Leah is still there. So while Israel lived in the land, Reuben went and lay with Bilhah, his father's concubine. And Israel heard of it. Okay, so now he's had a couple of situations. One where Dinah was violated by Shechem, and the other one where his wife, concubine, is violated by his oldest son, Reuben. So he heard of it. Now the sons of Jacob, and we don't ever find out what the reaction to it is until it comes time to give the boys the blessing. And then right there in that moment, Jacob will tell Reuben what he thought of his actions. And he will forfeit his right to be the firstborn son. And leadership is coming through someone else. someone more worthy than Reuben, but it's because of this act right here. So Israel heard of it. He doesn't seem to have any kind of reaction here, but he does in Genesis 49. Now the sons of Jacob were 12. The sons of Leah, Reuben, Jacob's firstborn, Simeon, Levi, Judah, Issachar, and Zebulun. The sons of Rachel, Joseph and Benjamin. The sons of Bilhah, Rachel's servant, Dan and Naphtali. The sons of Zilpah, Leah's servant, Gad and Asher. These were the sons of Jacob who were born to him in Padan Aram. That's back there. And then Benjamin, who came later at this time. And I know that there's summary going on here in all of this. And Jacob came to his father Isaac at Mamre. Now, wait a second now. Do you guys realize what you just read? His father is still alive. It's like 20 some years ago. He says to Esau, I don't know when I'm going to die, but I think my time is close, and I want to have one last savory meal before I die so that I can bless you. And that starts the whole ball rolling. And it's been quite some time, and Jacob came to his father Isaac at Mamre, or Kiriath Arba, that is Hebron, where Abraham and Isaac had sojourned. Now the days of Isaac were 180 years. And Isaac breathed his last, and he died and was gathered to his people, old and full of days. And his sons Esau and Jacob buried him. They're standing shoulder to shoulder, side by side, as they honor their father. And there's no hatred or animosity. But what a shame that Jacob doesn't earlier say to Esau, hey, I know you want me to follow you down there, but I really have something that I have to do. Made a vow to God earlier in my life that I would go and build him an altar. And rather than waiting for God to tell him that he has to do that, it would have been nicer for him to just start out and go there and go build that altar. So that's what we notice right here. So I don't know, maybe there's some thoughts or observations. I think we'll open it up a little bit here. I think we'll close down the recording for a second. And then, just open it up for our discussion right here at this time as you guys can make your observations about what you see. Because we're basically concluding a lot of the detail of the life of Jacob. The three major players in the book of Genesis are Abraham, Jacob, and Joseph. Okay, so we've gone through Abraham's life, we've gone through Jacob's life, and now we're going to be going into Joseph's life. But so when he says go up and build an altar, the word that he uses is to take a spiritual pilgrimage. I want you to take a pilgrimage. I want you to go to Bethel, and I want you to build that altar. And it's an opportunity for him. You notice the separation between, for Jacob to be able to do this, they have to separate from the false gods. It's cool that the family supported him in this, and everybody participated. Nobody held anything back. Psalm 24 verse 3 says, who shall ascend the hill of the Lord? Who shall stand in his holy place? He who has clean hands and a pure heart, who does not lift up his soul to what is false, and does not swear deceitfully. Okay? And so the worship of God is going to have some implications both inside and out. You've got to get ready to worship. You can't just walk in willy-nilly and expect that everything's going to be good. Take some spiritual preparation, and this is what he's doing. We've got to get rid of some junk, and we've got to change our clothes. We've got to get ready for this, okay? I liked verse 3. Verse 3, as it says, let us rise and go to Bethel, and I will make an altar there to God who answered me in the day of my distress and has been with me wherever I have gone. And Jacob didn't ever seem like a real religious person, but he's finally figuring it out. And it's kind of neat to see how he's becoming loyal to God. Anyway, what do you guys see here? El Shaddai is a pretty cool name for God.